I'm going to go back to something we mentioned at the outset of the show because there are implications here for the rest of the year legislatively. These 8 Republican senators, conservatives, who signed a letter after Trump's conviction last week in Manhattan, stating, as a Senate Republican conference, we are willing to aid and abet this White House in its project to tear this country apart. To that end, we will not allow any increases to non-security related funding for this administration or any appropriations bill which funds partisan lawfare. Well, you shouldn't allow any that funds partisan lawfare categorically, not just now or for the rest of the year. We will not vote to confirm this administration's political and judicial appointees and allow expedited consideration and passage of Democrat legislation or authorities that are not directly relevant to the safety of the American people. So basically, national security and nothing else gets through to the extent that those 8 Republican senators, as I said, the conservatives, led by the Mike Lees, J.D. Vance, Marsha Blackburn, Marco Rubio, Rick Scott of the world. For more on this and other domestic and geopolitical matters, Stephen Bucci joins us. He served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, and is a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's always great to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
How do you react to what those senators are attempting to do, and what from a national security perspective are any potential concerns you would have?
Well, as they said, they're going to do the national security stuff.
Right.
That there's always a lot of pearl clutching and swooning when someone threatens this. You remember back when that they were putting a hold on all of the military officer promotions, and everybody said, "Oh my God, the Republic's at risk," and that's just a little bit of hyperbole. That doesn't put everybody at risk. It's kind of massively inconvenient for the system because it does cause things to slow down. The exact transition that someone in the chain of command has decided on doesn't happen exactly that way. But trust me, the military in particular can handle that sort of delay. It happens all the time for all sorts of reasons. In this case, it was just really big and spectacular and got a lot of attention from the press because it was a conservative doing it for conservative reasons, and they just hate that. In this case, from a national security standpoint, I don't think this will have any negative effect whatsoever.
Well,
those that claim that are kind of full of it.
Well, something that may have an impact, even though essentially there's a carve out in the language that those 8 senators use. But I mean, there is definitely more pronounced opposition to any foreign aid forays after what happened on Thursday. I'll give you an example. One popular Twitter account. I don't want to hear another damn word about Ukraine. I don't want to hear another damn word about Israel. I don't want to hear another damn word about Gaza. I don't want to hear another damn word about Taiwan. I don't want to hear another damn word about any other country except the USA, you America last war pigs. So there's, even more heightened intensity about Trump and domestic issues now after what happened last week in Manhattan.
Yeah, clearly there will be. I mean, the people on the conservative side of things are going to question everything this administration does, and frankly, probably should have been questioning everything this administration does for a long time because it's been so screwy. But I don't think when push comes to shove that even these hardcore conservatives who are trying to lay down a marker against the Biden administration, if something came up and it was really going to put our allies at risk or our own interests at risk, that they would make an exception. You never know, but I think that would probably be covered by the common sense that would kick in. That said, they can put the screws down pretty tightly on a lot of Biden's plans, particularly things like releasing money to Iran, stuff like that. They can really now shine a much brighter beacon on those bad policies because of what's going on. If nothing else, they'll get more allies helping them do that because people are just ticked at what happened last week, and they see it for what it is. And it is, I mean, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez said it out loud. I don't think she was supposed to, but she said, "Oh no, this warfare or lawfare stuff. This is what's going to keep the ankle bracelet on former President Trump, so he can't go out and campaign." So she admitted that her party is doing exactly that. That this is not about the rule of law and trying to suddenly the Democrats are proponents of making sure that people pay the price for their crimes. Okay, well, how about all the thousands of people they let off in the last couple of years and continue to do it right in the midst of this? Apparently, the only ones that are worthy of prosecution are Republicans, in particular Donald Trump.
The latest effort to arrange a ceasefire in Gaza did not receive particularly well from Israel, unsurprisingly. Where does that stand? And frankly, what's your understanding of how successful the incursion into Rafah has been?
Well, we've yet to see the effect of the operation in Rafah, though we know they did get a couple of bad guys, which is worth it. Uh, Look, Israel is going to negotiate if it can help them get the hostages out. They will cooperate. They will work with them, but they have said unequivocally they are not going to stop this overall campaign until Hamas is eliminated from the playing field. And Hamas has said, yeah, but we're not going to stop attacking you no matter what happens. So we'll be happy to negotiate, but that's not going to stop us from attacking Israel. So the two main players in this are the two that are saying, yeah, we'll be happy to talk, but we're not really sure it's going to change what we're doing. And the rest of the world are wringing their hands and saying, oh my gosh, we got to do something. Okay, well, Israel's defending itself. Hamas is determined to destroy Israel. It's kind of not a good starting point for negotiations. And, this craziness now we got South Africa threatening the United States of America, saying, boy, if you don't stop supporting Israel, we're going to take you to court in the International Criminal
Yeah,
Court.
right.
It's like, okay, thank you for your interest in national security, but remember who you are in the world, and it ain't that much.
Well, do you think those 5 American Israeli hostages are still alive?
I think the possibility of that is going down precipitously every day, which is sad to say. I don't mean to remove hope from their families, but you know, we haven't had any releases lately, though we found bodies.
Right.
I think that may be the point we're at today, where that's going to be the best we get, where we recover their remains and assign blame to Hamas for what happened.
So, yeah, a lot of this, as I think we've talked about before, feels like post 9/11 redux to me, with the arguments about uh, uh, the arguments against Israel's response to the terrorist attack on 10/7 is that they're just it's disproportionate. They're just going to radicalize another generation of Palestinians and Muslims in the region to be committed to to the death to all Jews and to the elimination of the state of Israel, and it's just going to perpetuate uh, war in that region of the world. And then you see now you see more potential incidents of Muslim radicalization leading to violence in the West. For example, that German police officer that was killed at a rally by an Afghan who living in Germany over the weekend. So, what's your response to that? Are we going to end up basically where in the same place where we started, just with a lot more people dead on both sides?
You know, that's always a problem with these kind of activities. I would say that that's probably got a bunch of truth in the statements you just made. However, I don't see that there's a lot of choice. You know, if the other side was saying, well, if you just give us this, this, and this, then we won't do these bad things, uh, you know, then you've got some place to at least consider negotiation. But when the Palestinian side's sole demand is the eradication of the state of Israel, I'm sorry, you can't do that. This is the same people who said, "Well, we just need to talk to Al Qaeda. They're really, you know, they don't want to destroy us. They want us to do something uh, to meet their demands." And that was totally not what Al Qaeda was about. That's not what Hamas is about. So when people are refusing to have any sort of negotiation, to have the people who are, you know, clutching their hands and wringing their fingers together and saying, well, we just need to negotiate. We just need to understand their position. We understand their position. They are stating their position with no dispute, with no inability to understand it. It's just that the left is going, well, but their position, we just need to really understand.
Yeah,
It's delusional.
Al
So
Qaeda.
you've got to do something against them.
Right. I mean, to your point, just so people know, the Al Qaeda's central leadership issued this statement about 10 days ago in support of the model Hamas protesters on college campuses here. Quoting, as we support the assassination and beheading of Zionist unbelievers, so we also value and appreciate the movement of Western protesters and occupiers from among the students of Western universities who, by their occupying and protests, have expressed their rejection of the ongoing genocide in proud Gaza. Uh, the statement added that Muslim youth have the, quote, legal and divine obligation, unquote, to undertake jihad by killing Zionists wherever they are found. So that is, as you say, fairly clear, and it doesn't leave a lot of room to forge a middle way, does it?
No, not at all. And the people in the West who are still looking for that middle way are fooling themselves. They're either useful idiots who are helping out Hamas and their ilk, or they're so lost in la la land that they really believe that nonsense that you can negotiate with these people. I'm sorry, there are some people who, by their decisions, have said, I don't want to negotiate, I just want to kill you. That only leaves you one option, guys, and that's to defend yourself. And I'm sorry if people don't like that, if that sounds harsh, but that's the reality. And when those people hide among their own wives and children, it's a little hard to guarantee that there'll be no collateral casualties. And that's not on the people going after the bad guys. That's on the bad guys. And until we understand that in the West, uh, you know, the bad guys are going to have the upper hand.
In Eastern Europe, the green lighting of Ukraine for Ukraine to use American weapons to strike targets inside Russia. What sort of potential impact does that have, both in terms of expanding the war or aiding and abetting Ukraine's effort to repel the Russians? Does it change anything?
Well, I think it will help Ukraine, you know, put a little more of the pain on the Russians, which will put pressure on Putin because right now he's had basically a free ride. He keeps thumping on Ukraine, and his people are not feeling anything other than the casualties that that he's had within Ukraine. That said, it's this administration's policies are so odd and disjointed and seemingly you do one thing in one place and a totally different thing in the other place without any particular explanation. It's confusing. It's confusing for our friends. It's confusing for our enemies. So the Biden administration, I'm afraid, is motivated primarily by keeping itself in power, and it's going to do whatever it thinks the wind is indicating that they should do, instead of having some sort of legitimate plan. And in the Middle East, they're completely feckless. They're leaving Israel out hanging for the most part, and they're sending money to Iran on a regular basis. At the same time, they're potentially stirring up a bigger conflict in Ukraine. I don't think that's a guarantee, and frankly, I think Vladimir Putin, for the most part, is full of baloney, and loves to thump his chest. But when he's confronted, like most bullies, he backs down. I'm surprised he's lasted this long in this ridiculous effort that he's making to try and take over Ukraine. But you don't really want to give him any more ability to do that than you need to. So it's kind of a risk, but I really wish the Biden administration had a more consistent view of foreign policy and how they would operate within it.
Senator Roger Wicker, who is the ranking Republican on the Armed Services Committee, he put out a report which finds America's military poorly equipped to deal with potential wars on two continents at once, much less new threats in space and from AI and so forth. Proposed an additional $55 billion for the Pentagon's budget next fiscal year, for a total of nearly $1 trillion as a part of a new, what he called, generational investment. Is that what is called for in terms of our military preparedness? And boy, if we need another $55 billion for the Pentagon, and that becomes a point of controversy, it certainly will have people saying, well, then why aren't we investing in our military as a priority, as opposed to sending $90 billion to Ukraine and to Israel and to Taiwan?
Yeah, that is the issue. I mean, look, the Heritage Foundation, my organization, puts out the index of American military strength every year, and this most recent one that they published said that America was not in a good place. That there's the things that we've been pointing out for several years now have gotten worse and worse, and we had a little bit of improvement under President Trump. Things were trending in the right direction, and then as soon as he left office, boy, all that stopped. And again, we started wasting money on critical race theory and all sorts of initiatives that have zero to do with readiness, and instead let the readiness begin to slide again. So I do believe that the senator's right in that we need to get back to reinvesting in our military. I haven't really done the analysis to say that those numbers are exactly right, but I think we do need to change direction in the priority that we put our military readiness in, where we put that. But right now, we'll wait and see. This is going to turn into an interesting debate as more and more Republicans turn to essentially moving away from a national security standpoint and go more to a libertarian, let's just protect the homeland standpoint. And that's not necessarily a good thing for our country or for the world.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces and now a top Pentagon official, now visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen Bucci, thanks as always for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yep, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the